What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy, what's today? It's Thursday? Yeah. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the morning show here on Stock Market TV. All right. We got a lot going on. We got a full day today. We just had GDP. That's somewhat interesting, right? But we got earnings. We got to put yesterday's nice red day into some broader context. We'll do that. We'll have Frank Cappelleri back on this show. We'll have Kenny talk about his QQQ call yesterday. We'll have Sean hop in. So a lot going on. Doc is full. Let's go. Bring the guys on. Smash the like. By the way, chat, good morning. Let's go.
All right, we out here. Let me just tell you something. We've been doing this for a long time. This whole like sharing our ideas thing, and talking about the things we're doing in the market. Never, not once ever, have we ever gotten this much great feedback from anything we've ever done than we did last night. I don't want to make Strazza's head any bigger, but Strazza did a nice job last night.
I'm excited about this one.
Are you referring to that guy up on the screen?
If you weren't there last night, because Spencer Israel decided not to send you an email with the replay, right, Spencer? That was good how you did that.
Everybody an email with the replay.
Sorry to throw you under the bus there. Spencer screwed everything up last night. Don't worry. Strazza and I did such an amazing job of presenting the strategy, showing off the software, and then Spencer decides to not send the replay out to everybody.
So no. I will not stand for this slander. I'm not standing for this, regardless.
He's making up for it by putting a QR code because we're so fancy these days. So fancy. Watch the video because I really think it adds a lot of value. There's some house rules that we went over that I think are really good. We talk about the difference between asset prices and volatility and how they behave in different ways. A lot of good value there. Steve Strazza with the greatest analogy of all time. Seriously.
Stop.
Dude, it was perfect. Because you and I were thinking about an analogy. So this would give the folks some perspective. So in this particular strategy, we're looking for compressed volatility, right? We're looking for tight ranges, coils, right? That's what we're looking for. So Strazza's like, we need like a science friend that we can figure out what kind of analogy to explain it to people. And I don't know where you got it, but think about shaking a can, right? Can of soda. You shake it. Just takes a little bit of tweak and it explodes, right? That's what it is. I mean, that was well done, Strazza. Well done.
We're looking for those pops. And you know what else?
Dr. Google. You just Googled it, didn't you, you bastard?
After learning that, sadly, I have no science friends to call, I went to the Google, and that's all I had.
My science friends are doctors. They don't know anything about physics.
I don't even know anybody who went to school for science. I realized that last night for the first time.
They don't have doctors in Connecticut? No?
I don't know.
They definitely don't have doctors in Key West. They have retired ones. What do you say we get into the market there, Mr. Israel?
Yep. Also, if QR codes aren't your thing, there's a link in the chat and description. So check out the replay if you missed it, because it was, again, as JC said, tremendous feedback. Okay, let's talk markets.
Did we meet?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Dow, the whole market, nothing is happening at all this morning. We don't have to, right? We don't have to sugarcoat it. There just ain't shit happening, right? You got the Dow futures are flat, still above 40,150. You got S&P futures flat, just under 5,500. NASDAQ futures flat, just around 19,200. Then you've got 30-year bond futures inching higher, pushing 119. You got crude oil down 1% and change, under 77 for crude oil. Copper down again today, approaching that 4 level, retesting that as we speak. Gold selling off this morning, down 2%, back under 2,400. Silver getting the crap kicked out of it, down almost 6% this morning, back under 28. Silver having a hard time out there. And then over in the funny money land, you got Bitcoin down 2% this morning. That's 1,200 points to the downside. That's 64,000 for the price of Bitcoin. Ethereum really getting hit after this ETF launch. Talk about buying the rumor, selling the news. Ethereum down over 5%, pulling a silver this morning back to 31.50. Solana also down 6%, but hanging in there pretty good, just under 170. Binance down 2%, 560. Total crypto market cap, Spencer Israel, 2.26 trillion. Total Bitcoin dominance, however, 56% for Bitcoin dominance. So the percentage that Bitcoin represents of total crypto market cap keeps inching higher. What stands out there, Strazza?
The biggest movement pre-market is in the cryptos, but we do have, I think, a number of names that are selling off pretty good on earnings. No, Spencer?
A lot of earnings action today. I wouldn't say they're all selling off. Some of them aren't. Some of them are up nicely, but
why don't you tell me? I have a couple of charts, but why don't you tell me what stands out this morning?
Steve, you don't want to talk about our three favorite letters? GDP?
No.
No? It was hot.
Not particularly.
What does that mean? It was hot. It was better than expected. What does that mean? All right.
Who gives a shit?
The economy continues to be solid.
Yeah. Spencer, your economy is not our concern.
All right.
Recessions are a choice for a lot of people.
I'm not going in any particular order here. Just going on the order I have them on my list. Chipotle was up nicely. A big beat last night. And so another win for burritos. Beat on the top, beat on the bottom, raising their guidance. $400 million buyback, which isn't a lot, but it's not nothing. And yeah, it was a good one. So we're up. What are we up now? Only 2% now in Chipotle, but again, it was a very a lot of positive things last night out of this one.
Did ServiceNow have earnings?
Yeah, I believe so. There's so many I can't keep them all straight. But ServiceNow did have earnings.
Tech needs this. Tech needs
I don't think we have the chart handy, but they're up 6% this morning on their report, which was a beat, and guidance beat across the board. I didn't look too closely at that one, so can't speak too much about it. But
so yesterday, one of the worst day for the major averages, the large cap growthy averages, since the bear market lows, more or less, end of 2022. How about that? Nothing. Worst day of the cycle is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you know
maybe.
what I feel like yesterday was?
Yeah, maybe. So like if you own the indexes, that's a bummer for you. But I think, what is it, like a third of all the stocks in the S&P 500 were actually up. So it was like, so I think that's a good point. So like you talk about how it was the worst day for the indexes, pretty damn good day for internals. So people who are looking for breath improvement, this is what that looks like. Are you happy? See, be careful what you ask for.
So you're getting the breath improvement as they're selling the leaders in the most aggressive way we've seen this whole cycle. Like, yes, if you look at stocks like Dell or AMD, a lot of these AI names yesterday, they're getting sold hard. To me, there's a change of character playing out there in some of these AI stocks. There's been a relentless bid for these kinds of names the whole cycle. I'm not seeing that just for the past couple of weeks.
There are leaders still leading. They're just not, they don't get all the attention that maybe an Apple or an Nvidia or an AMD does, right? But like, let's take a look at some of these names. First of all, look at slide 2, Spencer. Let's go through these quickly because I think that it really tells an interesting story. This is the Dow Jones Transportation Average, guys. This is a big deal. They have not gotten going yet. They're hanging in there pretty well over the last couple of weeks, very well, as a matter of fact. And when you go, I could probably count on one hand how many people in this world actually go through all 20 stocks in the Dow Jones Transportation Average on a weekly basis like I do. It's really not a lot. I know for a fact that most people who I know don't do that. And I always wonder why. Before we go into some of the names, Spencer, do you have an idea maybe as to why people just completely ignore the components of this index?
It's 30 stocks and it's price weighted and
it's 20 stocks.
Oh, sorry, transportation. 20 stocks
it's even
price weighted
than 30.
And I don't think people go through components of anything too much maybe. It's not so much about this index.
Can I give a better answer?
Please.
Sure.
These are US based companies that have been chosen as important for the domestic economy. Our domestic economy simply doesn't transport that many goods anymore the way that it used to.
Madsen ships all over the world. I know this for a fact because my wife is in the shipping business, and we had beef with the Madsen guys in Guam, which couldn't be further. I thought I was gonna have to brawl with these Madsen guys in Guam.
I've heard this story so many times.
It's true. I was ready because my wife's boss was from Queens. He wasn't messing around, so he moved to Guam, and he's totally disrupting Madsen's monopoly in Guam. So he's like, JC, and he was a tough guy. I mean, Queens, but not very tall. So not very, he might be a better fighter than me. In fact, I'm willing to bet he probably is, but I looked bigger, right? I was the the size. I was the protection there. And as it turns out, they're very nice people. They're called Chamorros. Chamorros are the locals in Guam. Who knew? So anyway, we didn't have to get into any fights in Guam. But my point is, Strazza, you are wrong. Madsen does business all over the world, and I know this for a fact.
So, fine. I'm not saying that they don't do business all over the world. I'm saying that the U.S. economy, we don't ship things as much as maybe some other countries do.
By the way, Guam is part of the United States. Fun fact.
I have some facts to back up what I'm saying.
All right, let's go. Okay,
hold on.
hold on, because I have the only facts that actually matter. So why don't we go through the next 4 charts, and we can talk about facts, and then you can tell me about the facts that don't matter. So here's the Dow Jones Transportation Average, flat for 30 months, has yet to break out, waiting its turn, while some of these other large cap indexes like S&Ps and Dow, Industrials, and NASDAQ have already taken out those prior cycles highs. Transports are just waiting their turn, right? So why don't you go down the list? First of all, here's Madsen making new all-time highs, right, in the Dow Jones Transportation Average. Next one. Here's Ryder Systems also making new all-time highs. You want to talk about facts? These are facts, my friend. Facts. Next chart, Spencer. Expeditors. Look at that base. You want to fight that? I ain't fighting that. Next. Look at these long-term uptrends. Look at Landstar. I mean, we could keep going, right? These are all uptrends. These are all consolidations. Some have already resolved higher. Some are working their way to resolve higher. And listen, I get it. You can throw up the next slide just to show off what we were talking about last night. Some people are like, well, JC, those are too boring for me. Those just don't move enough for me, JC. I just want to trade semiconductors. I buy growth stocks because growth stocks are what have been working. If there's not enough juice in a stock that you're trying to trade or an ETF that you're trying to trade and you want that juice, that's what we were talking about last night. And that's what Breakout Multiplier is all about. You could zoom in on specific trade ideas there, Spencer, so they could see. This is pretty awesome. This was developed by customers of ours, right? Very intense users of our research. And they wanted a way to organize these trades and filter them and then add juice to them so that we can make the most amount of money possible when they move, right? Because as we say, a trader's worst nightmare is not losing money. Every trader loses money. Every trader is going to put on a trade that goes down. It's just what it is. Nothing wrong with that. Trader's biggest fear is not making enough money when you nail it, right? And that's what this is all about. So Spencer, drop the link so people can watch the video from last night. I think it was a great value add. And then transportation stocks are a good example, right, of adding juice to a trade. So that we can make as much money as possible, right? Instead of a 10, 15% return, looking for a 2x, 3x, 5x, right?
There's some juicy ones I'm looking at today. Now I got to be careful what I say on the show. So Replimune is actually a Baker Bros name. Nice base there. But back to the transports. I know you don't care if I might think a group of stocks is insignificant or immaterial, but would you listen to the market? Because the total market cap of the Dow Jones Transportation, I just counted it, is roughly $600 billion. That would make the Dow Jones Transportation Average, if they were an individual stock, about the 9th largest component in the NASDAQ 100. So they just barely, as a group of 20, would break into the top 10. These companies are very small. The market's
right.
telling
So we should penalize a group of stocks because they're never going to scale like software.
Like you don't need if you don't have
a shipping stock is never going to be $1 trillion.
You know how Kramer does that show like Am I Diversified? And people will like throw out. We could do that on here. It'd be fun. So people throw out.
The Seinfeld guy.
No. Listen, it's fun. People give him like 4 or 5 names of stocks, and then he like looks at it and he's like, "Well, you got 3 tech stocks, and maybe you should throw one out and own a transport." Nobody says
Kramer.
That. My point is, if you don't have transports in your portfolio, you're not like missing out on anything. Do you think that's fair? They're not like if you looked at somebody's portfolio, you'd be like, "You got to own more software." You don't say that about transports, do you?
I would never tell anybody what to do with their portfolios. What
people
do with their money. What people do with their money is none of my business. That's their fucking problem. I'm telling you that I've gone back and done the work, and for the last 140 years, the Dow Jones Transportation Average, the artist formerly known as the Railroad Average, has been spot on with overall market trends for a long, long time. Sniffs out problems, sniffs out the good things. So, you kids these days, and not just you, Strazza, just kids these days in general, who might not be familiar with the one Charles Henry Dow and all of the work that has gone behind this index going back 140 years, I would encourage you to do so. And if not, then don't. That's your problem. Like, I don't care if you don't. But I would encourage you to listen to me. I don't know everything. Far from it. I'm good at very few things. But this is one of them. So I would encourage you out there to listen to me. Take those 20 stocks, put them on a watch list, and once a month, go through those 20 stocks. It's going to take you 4 minutes, right? It's not a big deal. You're going to get a lot of information there. And you're going to find trade ideas. So not only are you getting information about the broader markets, you're going to find opportunities for trades in that universe. We just mentioned a few. And these are big names, so they trade liquid options too. So this is kind of part of that Hall of Famers mentality where we're looking for the names that are driving the markets. We'll accidentally find opportunities just going through that process, right? So ignore transports at your own peril.
Yeah, maybe. UPS just had its worst day in history, I heard. Is that true?
Maybe.
I saw it on the Twitter.
That FedEx UPS pair,
no good.
How about this pair? Throw up slide 9, please, Spencer, and then we'll bring on Kenny. How about this pair? How do we feel about this one?
All day. Numerator.
Yeah, right?
Numerator all day. That's going.
What do you think about this? Is this and the Solana Bitcoin looks very, very similar and impressive as well.
I own more Solana than anything. I continue to believe in this trade so much.
The relative strength has been off the charts, man. Off the charts. No?
Dude, this is quite the bull market vehicle. When you think about the way trends work, it's been sideways for a very long time at this point within the context of a sweet primary uptrend. We've seen patterns like this resolve just recently over the past few weeks, left and right. And Solana is getting close. It's getting close.
All right, I'm going to ask this question again. Nobody's giving me an answer. Nobody has an answer. The first ETF was Bitcoin. Duh. Second ETF, everybody knows.
What's
Ethereum.
The last one?
It was a non-event.
Yeah.
Solana, we all know it's coming next. They already filed it. Van Eck already filed it. Great. Common sense.
Who's
no
next?
secrets there.
Yeah.
What's the fourth one?
It's not going to be Binance.
It's not going to be Binance, right? It's not going to be Pepe.
I don't think there is a fourth right now.
Damn it, that was my answer, Steve.
I really don't think there is.
I was going to say, have you considered that Solana is the end of the line for now?
Yeah,
but that's the key here. Ready? It's for now.
By the end of this,
no, it's not the last one. There will be a fourth, but is there going to be a grace period in between? Is there going to be a purgatory?
I think so. I think that's healthy, right? I think a new leader needs to emerge this cycle and probably does. Maybe it's an AVAX, right? I don't know.
So it's not going to be Ripple. We can agree it's not going to be Ripple. It's not going to be the Doge. It's not going to be Cardano. It's not going to be Toncoin. There's really no need for an ETF or any of these.
I could see
AVAX.
I could see
Maybe.
AVAX stepping up, but it's got to perform better to get there.
Yeah.
People do like that one. I could also see a fund getting creative, or a fund manager getting creative and doing some sort of a meme fund, right? That would be Doge and the Sheeb. I could see that.
Yeah.
That would be next.
Oh,
Anything for
like
me.
a basket. That's
like an arc of meme stocks where they try to lose people as much money as possible.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They take, okay, ARK has lost more money for people than anybody in history. Let's see if we can match that in the meme world, right?
Maybe Kathy Wood will run it. Maybe it'll be an ARK fund.
No,
that's one way to do it. No, she doesn't do that. She loses money in regular stocks. We need somebody who's really good at losing money in meme stocks to launch that.
It's a great
We're
question
out there.
It's a great question, though, JC.
It is such a fascinating question.
There's no good answer. Binance wouldn't get approved, by the way.
Binance wouldn't get approved. It's not going to be Doge. It's not going to be Ripple, right?
I don't think it'll be any of the old cycle tokens. I feel like people are so over Ripple and Litecoin and all that.
Oh, that's a good point. It's not going to be an old cycle token. Oh, that's a good point, Strazza. Yeah, it's a good way to think about it. But I think I think there's going to be a pause in the ETFs after the SOL. Yeah. Okay, last question, then we'll bring on Kenny. How long before the SOL?
Before the end of the summer. These guys can move fast at this point.
They're moving fast now.
It'll be probably sooner than we think.
All right. I love it.
Listen,
Kenny nailed the NASDAQ trade yesterday.
He did, because here's what's going to happen. They're going to be getting ready to launch this thing. SOL's going to rip higher out of this consolidation and new all-time highs, and they're going to be like, they won't be able to move fast enough getting this thing out the door. That's what I see happening.
All right. Anytime.
It's been a long time coming. They ain't come from my club, they tug it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Hola.
Yeah. Did you mention Ripple? What's up?
What is that music?
That's Ripple. The reason I bought Ripple in 2017. I was like at a donut shop buying some cryptocurrency. I just bought them because of the name. I bought a dog. I bought the doggy coin because I just got a dog. I bought Ripple because of the drink that the kids were drinking.
You bought it at the grocery store?
Back in the park. The Ripple. Yeah. Remember the Ripple? The nastiest drink you could ever drink next to Old E.
No, I don't remember the Ripple.
All right.
I was more of a Mad Dog 2020 kind of guy.
You're right there. Exactly.
A little Cisco.
Yeah, you're right there.
A little Saint-Eyed special brew.
That's the combination.
So yeah, I was just like, we would swing by the liquor stores that would give us alcohol for even though we were underage.
Yeah.
Private stock, when I was at that age, I needed the sweet stuff still. Private stock. I wasn't ready for that yet.
Right.
I used to drink, man, this was garbage, man. We would take it to the beach. It would be hot in Miami in the summer. Oh, it's disgusting.
The worst. All that stuff.
Well done yesterday, my friend. Well done.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
It's again, I just saw air pockets out there. That was probably one of the sickest things ever. How, again, I don't know if you guys are seeing my charts right now. So again, this is the 30-day. I was looking at the 30-day, on an hourly basis, and that really just gave you an overview.
Wait, Kenny, we're not seeing your charts.
Oh, all right. I'll just talk over it, and don't worry about it. I'll just okay. Suffice it to say, I was looking at 3-month charts, 6-month charts, and again, if obviously you've seen these markets. We've gone up so much from that May 31st pivot, and we basically had no selling throughout the whole month of June. And then when the selling shows up, we usually give back half that. So I was looking at that halfway mark, and it just spat out, 462.28, and I put it out there in the email. So again, if you guys are, thinking I came up with that price out of nowhere, that was basically your 3-month VWAP. Just taking everything into consideration: that April pivot, that May pivot, the monstrous move from June, and then you have that correction, and then you get right back down to that price. So I'm right in the middle right now. I have no idea what I'm looking forward to today. So I'm looking at the jobs report, I believe, where the GDP report came out. So we're stabilized, but I am not convinced the selling is over. I think that we got to get that one more, oh my God, are we ever going to go up moment? So that's where we're at right now. So
Kenny, I got a good question for you.
Yeah.
I know your strategy is is mean reverting in nature, fading the strength, buying the weakness, looking for that mean reversion, which is great. It's very complementary to a lot of the things that we do here. How do you think about like relative strength? So, when you look at, some of these tech stocks, large cap tech stocks on the NASDAQ selling off over a week or so, and you see a bunch of names holding up really well in that environment, do you think about that at all? Or
Yeah.
you just keep reverting to the biggest movers?
Absolutely think about that. That's one of the first lessons I've learned, bucking the trend. And a lot of people, new traders would get that wrong. They would see relative strength and in an overall weak tape, and they would say, all right, let's short that stock because
Right.
the market's going to catch up to it. It's
Right.
actually the opposite.
Yeah.
So when you see that stock bucking the trend and it's doing wonderful things on the VWAP, yeah, you stick with that trend. And again, I'm looking for some relative strength. And right now, again, I'm very wishy-washy about the market. After monster moves down, the little tiny gap ups, they're susceptible to more selling. But really, the easy price to remember is 460 now on the Qs. So 460 on the Qs. If that gives way, we're going to go test that 443 area, and then it could get real scary because we could be looking at the May 31st lows in a heartbeat. And again, I welcome it because that's volatility and that's what I love. And again, I didn't think I'd be so focused on the Qs once the earnings started rolling in, but again, it's earnings and the Qs and UVXY right now. It's really, really keeping me occupied.
And give me a name on the radar this morning. Any Chipotle?
Yeah, I've already shorted Chipotle. This is my trade. I mean, let me try to get the chart up for you. Actually, I could just tell it to you just as simply as I possibly can. Stocks that are gapped up on earnings, if they break VWAP, you tend to get some selling. So what I look for is a gapped up stock, and you saw what Chipotle did yesterday. It's another indication how rigged the market is. It hit 60 exactly twice. That's where the sellers were. So if you guys have been trading as long as I have, there was a day where option prices only were 57, 50s, and 60s. Stocks still move in those 2.5 point increments. So when you got a big stock like that, not breaking 60, I was looking to short it when it broke 57.50 yesterday. And just like today, it was gapped up slightly. And just on the VWAP break, and again, for your day traders, this is just a dream. It hits the VWAP and got rejected at around 53. And it gives you that risk reward right there. So now you could short it at the 52.50 using the 53 as your out. If you're wrong, we rolled over and you got paid on that. And right now, I'm just, again, the UVXY is red. I'm looking forward to a nice calm day. It'd be nice. Yesterday was a little frantic a little bit, even though I was prepared for it. I got a little distracted. And again, I won't tell you about what my wife had me doing in the middle of all that. But I am just staying focused on the earnings reports. Chipotle, I'll be all over it today. I don't normally trade the stock. Watching the airlines, watching GE and GM again from yesterday. And a couple of the stocks that we've been, the relative strength. ASTS, relatively strong. The stock keeps getting bought on dips. JMIA, that's been relatively strong. You finally got it to sell off, so I'll be looking at that one. And, that's about it. You got the airlines again. And, going back to what we looked at yesterday, I always take a look at what happened yesterday, look at it today. But again, Chipotle, the Qs, UVXY, there's going to be a lot to do.
Love it. Spencer, tell people where they can get on Kenny's list where they would have gotten that NASDAQ trade from yesterday.
Yeah, that was an absolute killer. The link is always the same, guys. It's hitthebid.com, but use the QR code on the screen as well.
Yes, Cisco, by the way. Yeah, that was another gross drink.
Ooh. So many Ciscos with a C, with an S, the cocktail. Oh,
right. I've graduated to Don Julio Reposado, but I've actually found 1800 to be nice and sweeter and a little bit cheaper. So
who's fancy? Who's fancy now?
Big fan of the 1800 Reposado.
Growing up now at your old age.
Yeah, and if you are in Jersey this weekend, stop by. I got 6. I don't know what they call. What do they call those?
Called kegs.
The vats. Yeah. We're ready to rock. All right, guys. I'll see you in the room.
Adios.
And he's gone.
I just want to point out that we got Sean coming in, right? We got Sean coming in today.
Yeah, Frank.
I know, but we got Sean coming in later, or no?
Oh, I believe so.
No, because I just want to reiterate that the volatility index now back above 18. This has been an environment for a hot minute where we have not been getting paid to sell premium. Yesterday we were. So we were selling premium. We sold those puts in Berkshire Hathaway, making it rain puts in Berkshire Hathaway, collecting that cha-cha, because there's a time and a place for everything. And when volatility is low, it doesn't really pay to sell premium. But when volatility is high and you're getting paid to sell premium, going back to the well, selling puts in the Berkshire.
You know, I disagree with this take, but
I know. That's okay. Berkshire Hathaway paying juicy premiums. By the way, I liked selling the puts naked in Berkshire Hathaway, and I'm okay with that. I prefer to take that cash and buy out of the money calls, which is what we did, but I'm okay with selling those puts naked also. But I think in this case, I think you can buy those out of the money calls. It's bull market. I don't know if you heard. But if you just wanted to sell the puts, so if you're just selling the puts naked, that's just a bet that you're not bearish. You're not necessarily bullish, but you're not bearish, right? So stop going down. To take that cash and then buy those out of the money calls, now you're putting on a bullish bet, right? You're putting on a not bearish bet and a bullish bet. That's what I prefer in this case.
All right. Are we bringing on a friend Cap?
There's a time and a place, Spencer. You're not going to drink Cabernet with your Bronzino, are you?
I don't even know what those words are. Yeah, no, that's true.
This is one school of thought.
Oh, you drink Cabernet with your Bronzino?
No, what you're saying. You're starting at volatility. We've had this conversation a million times. I start at the chart.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Bring on Frankie. Yo, Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Frank Cap in the house, the coolest customer on Wall Street. What is up, my man?
What's up, guys? Let's try this again. I think all of you a drink after the last snafu in technology, especially Spencer. Thanks for your patience.
You know, I already forgot about it because snafus like that are not as rare as you might think around here. You know?
Yeah, you know, I was actually thinking, I was like, Frank better have his shit together this time, or he's gonna have to hear from me.
We revamped. We're good now.
No, I like it. I like it. Frank, I was told this was a bull market, and then stocks only go up, but that's not what happened yesterday.
No, and looking at the S&P 500 in general, as you know, I look at this in terms of bullish patterns. If you go back to April 2023, the vast majority of the time we've had at least one bullish short-term pattern. So say over the last few weeks to few days. So there were 3 specific times when we didn't have one, meaning that we'd already achieved the target and waiting for another bullish pattern to form. That was in July of last year, end of July, at the end of March in 2024, and then again after the first week of July, right? And so all those times, as we know, have been the biggest pullback so far. Now, most recently, just 4% for the S&P. We had 6% from March to April, and of course, 11% or so from August through October. So the good thing, JC, as you pointed out, if we're in a bull market still, this just sets the stage for another pattern to then form. And I think that's what we need at this point. As we know, being led by the mega cap growth names, just everything got so extended just because of the math, the market cap related indices look the same. And even though you're in a bull market, you don't want to buy, at least from my perspective, unless you have a pattern there, that you can leverage. And you're talking about your new trading system, right? You want to see that coil. We need these coils to reset themselves a bit. Now, underneath the surface, there's some other areas doing well, but the areas that are leading, especially growth, you really couldn't make a case to say buy the MAGS ETF after the last number of weeks with the thing so extended, and especially with those names coming into earnings. The risk reward really wasn't there. So I think we just have to be patient and wait for that setup to occur again.
I got a question, Frank. When you see the percentage of stocks on the New York Stock Exchange above their 200-day moving average hit the highest levels this entire bull market, you see things like the Russell 2000, growth and value, both hit new multi-year highs at the same time. A day like yesterday where S&Ps and the NASDAQ are down, NASDAQ down 3% or something like that. A third of the stocks on the S&P 500 were up. When you think about that sort of breath thrust ish, do you think that now you need a break, kind of like that breath thrust that we saw in December, where you just had like everything was working? So like if everything's working, mathematically you can't have more things working. So you need to see some deterioration there. Do you think of the recent action in a similar way? Do you look at it differently, and why?
I think that's a great point. I mean that those breath throws happen because you have many stocks going up at the same time, however you want to look at it. And I think actually Optima did a very good post on yesterday, just talking about how on 2% down days for the S&P 500 going back to 2015, yesterday there were 165 names up in the S&P 500, way more than any other period over that time frame. It just shows that rotation, whatever it is, it continues to be what we need in the foundation. And I think that's a big difference. We've seen big down days before, technology down 3 or 4%. It really doesn't lend to typically other areas actually holding up, especially healthcare, for instance. Now that could be considered defensive, but not really. So that's just, an area that has just recently broken out, XLV and some of the other ETFs associated with it. So something like that, if you see that holding up, percolating near new highs, just shows that there's an appetite out there in general.
Are biotechs defensive, Frankie?
Hold on. No.
Go ahead. I would say no to that. Speculative growth.
Right?
Let's stay on this point though, because the rally that led to the breath thrust in July is very different from the one off the October lows last year. This all started like July 11th, right? Go look at SPY or triple Qs. July 11th is when it all ended for them. Like the major averages did not participate while the rest of the market was thrusting. Do we not overthink that because these indexes are driven by such a small handful of stocks?
Yeah, I think one of the things too, if you look at before at least the past 2 days, the last 10 times when technology lagged, the S&P had a positive breath. This goes back to April.
Yeah,
and so like that really tells the story right now. So if things change, right? If technology continues to lag, then everything eventually goes down with it. Clearly, that's a different story. But we haven't seen that yet. And I think yesterday was a very good point. And now we're going to see over the next week and a half, and the biggest names report how that's done. And I don't think anyone is surprised at this point to see some sort of pullback in front of earnings. Or what kind of number do you need at this point for those stocks to keep going up at that clip, right?
Well, the Google report, if you're bullish, that should be a little bit of a concern the other day. I think that's what you're talking about. Like, what does it take? That was a solid beat. It's a great beat. We've seen the stock rise on similar reports to that this whole cycle, but this quarter doesn't seem like it was good enough.
Yeah, what is going to be good enough at this point?
Let's remember that Google just added like $1 trillion and change in market cap, like in a hot second. So some of that may have been priced in, maybe a little bit of a discounting mechanism, perhaps.
Market stops reporting these companies for solid earnings, then it starts to feel late stage to me.
They were rewarding these companies before any of these great earnings, before any of this AI stuff. They were already ripping, bro.
Right. So there's one chart I sent over there, Ms. Spencer has, of the Mag 7 ETF with rate of change and also versus the S&P 500. And so what that shows initially is that all along the way, and we know that the ETF doesn't have too much history, but each time it's broken out to new highs, each breakout actually was undercut momentarily. We're going higher. The only time it didn't happen was just recently, late May to June, when it just got overextended, way overextended. Now we're almost back to that. And even though Mag 7 is leading the S&P 500, that relative strength line just got way overextended as well. Even after the pullback, it's not even back down to the channel that it was in. So I just think we're in this reset mode. I like to call it, support discovery at this point. What's the first thing you have to do to establish another uptrend? You have to stop going down, right? Of course, upside follow through. Have to see a higher low, and that is the beginning stages of another bullish pattern to be formed. And I think that's what we're, in the midst of now. And I want to be surprised to see this extend at least through August.
Is this the real deal for small caps now?
I think so. And we don't have the chart there, but I know you guys look at it all the time. If you go look at the IWM ETF, and over the last 10 years, it's done this before, 4 prior times where it's taken its time to get back to new highs. And when it has, it's broken out, continued higher. The issue, though, if you look at a relative line versus that, say in the same panel, is that relative strength of the Russell has seemed to dissipate once that absolute breakout has happened, at least recently. So that's going to be interesting to see when we get that. I do expect the breakout to occur, but the question at that point is it still worth being in there as opposed to being a large cap growth at that point?
Frank, is it just an interest rate thing? You know, because the way I looked at it, it was like, okay, you know, interest rates are doing well, you know, bonds are selling off, and that's putting pressure on small caps, biotechs, regional banks. And then rates started rolling over, and all of a sudden, biotechs, regional banks, small caps are doing well. You know, to me, sort of reiterating that, yes, in fact, it was an interest rate story. Like, do you see it that way too? Do you see it differently? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward because we've really seen this in a lower rate environment for the last few decades, right? We've seen Russell do well here and there. I mean, I think that's a very good point, JC. I think we have to see what happens. I do think overall, we're going higher in rates, like down to years, but how long those periods take. Like right now, I think the pressure is lower still. We know the Fed is watching data. Fed is actually more watching the 10-year yield, right? When that gap between the effective funds rate and the 10-year yield widens, Powell's just going to be pushed to cut rates at some point. So I think that's all playing into it. And if that continues, then I think those speculative aims like that are going to get more juice, which they haven't seen just yet, at least on a relative basis.
I get the feeling that at this point, we've had a couple head fakes or false starts from a rotational standpoint, where I would say Q4 of 2022, it looked like, ex-US, small caps, Dow value was where you want to be. And then that changed drastically in 2023. And then Q4, off of the October lows, Q4 of last year, we had another little head fake that made it look like, okay, maybe the rest of the market is where you want to be, not the big, mega cap growth trade anymore. Now it feels like that this is the third time around where everybody's getting excited for a rotation. People I talk to, no one believes it. Everybody's telling me, you got to see it. And I'm like, we're seeing it out here just these last 2 weeks. We're kind of seeing it. Look at the banks, look at the biotechs, look at the candles in the IWM just yesterday versus the candles in Qs or SPYs.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're really seeing it this time. Am I crazy?
Well, I think it was a Bespoke put out that crazy stat that it was IWM where Russell was trading over 4 times their standard deviations above 50-day moving average. That obviously couldn't be persist, but at the same time, talk about a thrust or something that can change things like that. That's historic, right? It's something like no other index has ever done that since 1928.
It was,
So
I agree.
right? Amazing. And so I think that's the type of thing where just shake out all those doubters. And like you said, it's the barbell approach between biotech, or small cap growth, and then regional banks, which have been coming back, as we know, for a while, but now they're really starting to take steam. And you put that with, say, the KWBB or the bank, just larger cap banks as well. They all look good, and I think that is interest rate story as well. So you have that going. You have healthcare, obviously industrial still up there. I think as long as those continue to hold, maybe you won't see it resulted in the S&P itself just because of the weighting issues. But that's what you want to see for longer term for this trend to continue higher. You need that foundation to persist.
What do you think about, areas like materials and energy? That I look at these charts, it's just hard to get excited. But with everything else going on, my inner market brain is telling me these groups should maybe be working in this kind of a tape.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are pockets of strength like that. And as you guys know, you sometimes look at the sector, sometimes you just look at for individual stories at the same time. And for instance, like, Exxon, we talked about recently, it's within 8% of its all-time high. At the same time, it basically did nothing for how many years now. So it's getting there. It just needs crude oil to probably not go down at the same time. With that, talk about, one of the biggest stocks in the United States or in the world. Obviously, it's energy related, but it's still there. And I think that's a story like that we shouldn't ignore if this rotation is for real, because eventually people are going to go back to that one too.
Exxon is big. It's almost as big as all of the transportation stocks combined, actually.
That's pretty incredible.
All right.
How do you think about the transportation index? Because Strazza is one of these millennials that is not interested in the Dow Jones transportation stocks. But Frank, you're OG, right? You're a little more old school like I am. You're slightly more old school than I am, actually. By a few years, I think you got me beat. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the Dow Jones transportation average.
I mean, I think you can't ignore anything. We shouldn't hate on that, Steve. Right? At the same time, it's one component of this. But when things were not going well in terms of transportation, as we know, led to inflation and all that. So I think you want to see things flowing. And I think, as as Alan Charles used to say, right, in price there is knowledge. If transportation stocks and other areas are doing well, telling you something about the companies and how they're doing at the same time. So you want to see that from an economic perspective, nothing else.
What's your favorite Alan Shaw quote?
That was probably it. However, I like this one the best. I sat in a lot of his classes to his financial advisors way back. And so all these new guys would come in and he'd say, the stock can do one of two things. You can go up sideways, or you can make money. You can make a lot of money. You can lose a lot of money, right? Or you can do one of make a little, lose a little. And he shakes everyone's hand. Promise me you will never lose your clients a lot of money. And so he's like, I'm going to come back to this in 3 months. You got to make sure you tell me that. So that always stuck with me. You can always do that.
Because
You can always manage
there's 5
risk.
possible outcomes. You can make a lot, which is great. You can make a little, which is fine too. You could break even. You could lose a little. All those are fine. It's the lose a lot that 1/5 of the possible outcomes. If you ignore that, then any idiot can make money, right?
Right. And that's basically what we're doing here. Right. And so whatever rules we have to use, let's use them to make sure that doesn't occur.
I absolutely love it. Frank, give me something else. What's on the radar that you think is getting under discussed? Everyone's talking about breadth. Everyone's talking about small caps, interest rates. What's getting left out? What are people missing?
Well, I look at things, from short term as well. So I, spent over 15 years as an institutional sales trader. So I've been talking to buy side counterparts. We know how important that is. So one of the things I look at very closely is how the S&P closes, right, every day. And so for the majority of this time from October, until recently, it's really been between 65 to 70% of the time that's closed above the midpoint. Now, over the last 2 weeks, we've now had
the midpoint of the day.
Yes, intraday midpoint of the
Right.
day. And so over the last few weeks now, 9 of the last 12 days, we've seen bad closes, right? So that's a small sample size, but if you go back to what happened from March into April, same thing, 40% of the time. So we're in this pocket where that needs to change at first, because what does it tell us? Institutional clients are going in, if they're confident about the rest of the day, they're going to be utilizing algorithms or strategies to continue to buy, and they're probably also bullish for the next week to month. If they're not, they're going to be patient and maybe not use those type of aggressive strategies and have the market or the price coming to them. So when you see that over the course of a few weeks to a few months, that's what develops uptrend. So right now, one of the things I'm looking for is for that ratio to flip again, right? And that's maybe not 1 or 2 days, but if you track it over the next 2 weeks or so, maybe you can see a change before we actually see it reflected in the price action.
How do you track that out of curiosity? That's fascinating.
Right now it's just manual for me. I'll look at
the old-fashioned way.
Oh yeah,
I respect that.
I used to look, mark up the big chart wall for Alan and Louise, so I can do that in Excel now.
Are you that old?
Yeah, man.
I didn't know you were that old. You look
almost
good,
50.
Frank.
Almost 50.
Almost 50. Damn, you look good, bro.
Yeah. Frank, you do such a nice job. Just things like what you guys just discussed, analyzing the day-to-day price action, reading the tape. I think that you are probably, most comfortable or aware of the character of the market as anybody that I talk to. Tech stocks seem to be trading a little bit differently right now. Like the leaders, the way they're getting hit. I'm talking about the Dells, the super micros. Are you noticing the same? Am I just psyching myself out because I lost a bunch of money being short puts in these names yesterday? Or is something changing?
Well, just looking at NVIDIA, it looks like a double top currently, right? I think that we see big moves on either side. It's the clusters of big moves that can really change things. So I think, maybe a benefit of the doubt now, because again, we got way more extended than we have been. And we see this pullback at the moment, looks like what we saw in March, April. It's all going to be about what, the next bounce looks like across the board. If that's sold into, of course, that could just make an even bigger top. And, I look for bearish patterns as much as bullish patterns. And for the S&P 500 in general, we could identify 5 different potential bearish patterns since October 2022. None of them played out. Right. So I think it's a process. Obviously, with the technology names like that, it hurts coming off the top, but we've seen buyers step in time and time again there. So again, I really feel this next rally, whether it takes us through earnings or not, how that's dealt with is going to tell the story.
Best sector between now and the end of the year.
I want to go into financials.
Woo!
You and me, buddy. I'm with you.
Yeah, no disagreements here. Does that have anything to do with the fact that small cap financials, mid cap financials, and large cap financials all hit new highs last week?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not
Does
just
that
banks
hurt?
either.
That probably doesn't hurt.
Right.
Where in financials? Because we could go insurance, we could go regional banks, money centers. I mean, so many types of financials. Berkshire Hathaway is the largest component of the U.S. financials index. So you tell me.
Yeah. Well, I think if it's going to work, your biggest bang for your buck is regional banks, right? Obviously, it's the most risk there, but all along the way, you've seen bullish patterns form, and whether it's a KRE, and again, we're bringing back the KBWB as well. So I think as long as those present themselves, we want to buy those breakouts, and that's what we're really looking for.
You like my selling of puts in Berkshire yesterday? You like that, huh?
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that's just a monster. That stock, literally, from a chart perspective and anything else.
How gangster is it that Warren Buffett files earnings on a Saturday?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's pretty badass.
Talk about
right?
old school. Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty badass.
Frank,
Frank, do you from the chat? Do you crush Gabagol?
are you a Cabocol or a Super Sog guy?
Both at the same time.
I have a favorite.
Well, listen, if you're going that way, I think it's funny. If you're going the cured meat, I think you have to have a collection of them. However,
so you're like an Italian hero, not a Godfather kind of guy.
No, he wants a whole board of meat and cheeses and olives and a bunch of fun stuff, right?
Man, getting thirsty thinking about this. Yeah.
All right.
All
I'd go for some charcuterie right now.
Charcuterie. That is the bougie word of the day. Charcuterie. Frank Cappelleri, you spending some time coaching some kids at sports. I'm getting there. Any words of wisdom for me? Because they're not listening to me.
So one time someone said to me, how do you stay so calm in the midst of all this craziness? And I said, that's why I wear sunglasses for all times. So you're gonna get fits of road rage along the way. Just keep it together, JC. I know you can do it. Because the kids remember. On honesty, the kids remember what you're like, and you see that a lot of people just go way overboard. In the end, they regret it. So now you can keep it together, and you're the leader that they need.
Keep your shit together. No, it's good advice. Me and some of the dads were talking about that the other day because they have a hard time keeping their shit together. So they're working on it.
Don't be the crazy dad, right?
Don't be the crazy
dad. Because the thing is, as you move through these levels, you look back just 2 years and be like, oh God, those kids are so young. I can't believe I got so crazy about it. That continues as you go forward.
All right. Good advice. Good advice, Frank Cap in the house. I like it. I needed that.
Yeah, it's a fun time. So treasure every moment of it.
Spencer, put there on the chat where everybody can follow Frank. Great follow on Twitter. Get on his newsletter. Great work, Frank. Always, bro. Seriously, do great work.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, dropping links in the chat right now. Check them out. There we go.
Thanks, Frank.
Go get him, buddy.
Have a good day.
I like how Frank's got his CMT certificate back there.
One of the best CMTs out there.
I gotta get my CMT. Where is my CMT certificate?
Next to your diploma.
Yeah, probably my college diploma. I got one of those too, believe it or not. They gave me one.
I used to use my diploma as a mouse pad for years. I don't know where it is now.
Can we hit some earnings?
I'm very proud of my Fairfield University diploma. Thank you very much.
Throw up the calendar. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, let's get the calendar up here. We kind of sort of did Chipotle a little bit. We did Chipotle, so we can move on from that. Where do you want to go though, Steve? I mean, Ford's getting cracked today. Ford's down 14%.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Southwest Airlines changing the thing that they're most known for in their business?
What, like the flex seat stuff? What do they change?
Yeah. That's Southwest's whole thing is it's a shit show, no assigned seats, and they're saying, no, we need to not do that anymore. So we're going to actually give you an assigned seat going forward, and we're going to actually create, first class part of the plane and more leg room and let you give us more money for that. And so I thought that was interesting.
I don't know when last airline that's going to take out the bathrooms and make people stand. Which is that one?
That was Ryanair.
Ryanair, these
Yeah.
Irish folks. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I think that was
with
Ryanair.
all that beer they're drinking, they'd have to use the old Picadoo.
No, but Southwest, that's the thing they're known for. Is it's first come first serve, baby, and they're getting rid of it. Although I will say, so the stock sucks, but the story of Southwest is incredibly inspiring, and their founder, Herb Keller, is like one of the most inspiring guys I've ever heard of. So, if you don't know his story, you should check it out. Let's talk about what, Steve? Honeywell, IBM, ServiceNow, Vikings is the big mover today. Vikings up 15%.
So this is
One for the good guys.
I've been trying to play calls in this one, of course, not long now when we're getting a nice little pop, but this is one of the hottest biotechs out there right now. These guys are working on something that they think could be huge, potentially the best drug in the GLP-1 space, and people are very excited about it.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
I thought we, meaning you, were super against the GLP-1 thing.
Yeah, but making money. The coil here is too good.
Yeah, what's more important, Spencer? Making money or not liking fat people taking drugs instead of just exercising like a normal person?
We might have the VKTX chart handy. I think we might. Anyway, the big news that
Baker Bros name, Strazza?
We have it. No, we have it. We'll throw it up, but it's right here. Like this thing still hasn't triggered. Like if this thing rips back above the pivot lows, we've seen this thing make monster moves a couple of different times just this cycle. So I'll be watching this one close.
It's close.
I like the way this is set up right now. I really like. If we come in, we're opening
like
here.
A point away.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
So they had earnings. We don't care about that though. The actual headline is that they announced that they're going to start a late stage trial for their GLP-1 drug later on this year. So now we've got just to keep track here. We've got Novo, Eli Lilly. We've got Roche. We've got VKTX, Viking. Oh gosh. I think Pfizer has a thing in here. Yeah, that's at least 5.
They're too big. It's not going to move the needle for them.
Okay.
You can't call Pfizer a GLP-1 play. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'm just thinking about the GLP-1 space.
You got Novo, you got Lilly, you got Viking. What are there some others?
Yeah. Roche is one. Roche is huge, but
you just got to trade it OTC if you live here.
Yes, you do.
No big deal.
Listen, ServiceNow. Let's do ServiceNow. This is by far the most important report from either last night or this morning because something had to stop the bleeding in the mega cap tech trade. And it seems like ServiceNow is doing some sort of job at it right here with some solid earnings. So what were the headlines?
Yeah, so I'll give you the EPS and I'll give you the stuff from last quarter. EPS $3.13 versus a $2.84 estimate. So sometimes it's, a beat is a beat, but like a beat of a penny is not the same as a beat of like $1, right? So in this case, they beat by like 40 cents. So pretty good there. Sales $2.627 billion versus $2.60 billion. So they beat the number there as well on the top line. Let me read you some guidance that they gave. They gave subscription revenue guidance, call it $2.66 billion for the quarter, and we'll say $10.5 billion for the year. That's their subscription revenue guidance, and those are both above estimates. So, like we said, the stock is up. What's it up now? 11%. Good morning.
Yep. No, that's a big one. And you said IBM also looks like they're trying to figure this one out if they like it or not right now.
Yeah, I kind of thought. Oh, I mean, it is up. I thought it was up more this morning. I haven't looked at the chart in like an hour.
It was up. It reversed to red in the pre-market.
Oh boy, what a mess.
So IBM, if you zoom out on IBM, you could say some nice things about this setup here for like the first time in ever. Yeah, look at that. Something's going on here. Would you buy that? Would you buy a base breakout in old blue?
Like above 210, like yeah, but like it's IBM, so who are we kidding?
Yeah. I've like stopped thinking about these stocks over the years.
Who are we kidding? The IBM was like the first
so
Mag 7.
Out, it's a huge base, man. No?
Yeah. I mean, it's value tech, right?
Yeah.
So
Legacy
value tech is going to go.
Sure. What's
If
the word
Cisco's
that you
gonna
call
go-
it, Strazza? Old tech? What is
Legacy tech.
it? Legacy tech. That's it.
I didn't invent that, but yeah, legacy tech.
It's value. That's what it is.
Sure, I don't
Yeah.
disagree.
Can we talk about Raytheon, please? This
Yeah.
thing is an absolute beast. This is a former Dow component. Speaking of things that have gotten forgotten about, this used to be a big deal. And then, millennials get sad because it's not a tech stock. And here we are breaking out to new all-time highs.
Up 7% this morning. A beat and a beat for the numbers for last quarter. The guidance wasn't great. Actually, they gave the EPS guidance they gave for the year actually lower than the estimate. And their sales guidance looks like that was in line. But like I said, up 7%. So that tells you all you need to know, right?
You got to watch the AI names here, and you don't want to give back too much of your profits. If you have huge profits in some of these positions, you got to identify some stops and protect these gains because they are selling these stocks.
What does Raytheon have anything to do with AI?
I'm not talking about Raytheon.
Oh, we're still talking about Raytheon. Can you throw up slides?
I also was confused.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I mean, look at the semis again today.
AI. Who gives a shit about AI?
Crazy. A lot.
Look at Raytheon making new all-time highs. By the way, aerospace and defense in general making new all-time highs. Lockheed Martin is another one that's been ripping. Aerospace and defense, GE Aerospace, is now the largest component of the aerospace and defense index when it was an irrelevant component before because it wasn't a pure play because General Electric had so many things going on. They were trying to be a bank. They were trying to be a healthcare company. So they spun off all that shit. So now they're just GE Aerospace is the name of General Electric now. It's no longer General Electric. It's GE Aerospace. And they are the largest component of the aerospace and defense index. And it's making new all-time highs.
Largest
RTX right there.
Largest industrial stock, period. They're back on
Is
top.
it?
Yeah.
Is it? Really?
Easily.
Wow.
No, yeah, they got 15 billion on CAT at this point. So yeah.
Huh. I hadn't really thought of it like that, but that's...
Dude, back from the dead in a big way.
Is this one near and dear to your heart because you're from Connecticut and like you do Connecticut things like eat grinders and play too much golf? And
Absolutely. David Rath was on yesterday. He told a similar story. I mean, this company was just massive. In a lot of places in the tri-state back in the day.
Okay, so if General Electric is the largest, and it's not by far, by the way, General Electric is the largest industrial stock. What is the second largest industrial stock?
Honeywell.
Caterpillar.
Honeywell's top 5. Honeywell's 5. Raytheon is number 3. But Raytheon after today, let's see. It's up 8% today. That's not nothing. Raytheon might be getting up there. Raytheon might be by my math, it's number 2 right now, pushing number 1. Woo! Are we allowed to call it Raytheon? No, right?
You call Raytheon.
We have to call it RTX. I kind of just rather call it Raytheon.
Raytheon and United Technologies.
You can call whatever you want.
Made a baby.
So Raytheon and United Technologies had a baby.
And they mixed the ticker in like a really cool way too. Because I think what was the old Raytheon? RTN? And then
it was RTN.
UTX.
Yeah.
RTX.
Oh,
don't forget.
I hadn't thought about it like that. So it looks like the father and the mother.
Don't forget L3 Harris, LHX.
You like the L3?
L3's nowhere near.
I'm just saying, don't forget about it. It's the same industry.
All right.
Yeah, but the market cap is non-existent.
Whatever. Hey,
I don't think we're done with earnings.
No, I just want to say, tough day for anyone that owns any traditional automaker. Really brutal.
Dude, tough day for people who own the best stocks. This is what we should be talking about.
Okay.
Why would you want to own these automakers anyway?
I mean, yeah, there's something to that. GM did raise their guidance a few days ago. It's not worth a whole lot because the stock gave all those gains back immediately. But Ford's down 14% today. Every automaker is down with it. Even GM, who already got their report out of the way, they're all getting hit. So I just, as someone that lives in the Motor City, they're near and dear to my heart. And just tough day is all I wanted to say.
Yeah, well, the real automotive company's down in Texas now. I don't know if you heard.
And they're not down today. So maybe there's something to that.
These automotive companies. Oh,
I mean, I look at my biggest losers, and Ford is near the top. Not at the top, but it's close.
I'm fascinated by this whole Raytheon being the largest industrial stock. Fascinated by that. What was the market cap of GE at its peak when it was the largest company in the world, Strazza? Like 300, 400?
I don't know. No idea.
You can look it up.
But it was the largest company in the world multiple times, wasn't it?
I think we're gonna have some nice failed top setups in tech soon.
In tech.
Yeah.
But it was GE was the largest company in the world multiple times?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think when they were trying to be a bank, they were pretty up there.
Their peak was what'd you say, JC?
400?
Yeah,
They were on
368.
top in the 90s and then again pre-financial crisis.
They were in the original Dow Jones Industrial Average.
368 billion. September of 2000.
They were the original Dow. They got kicked out. They got brought back in. They got kicked out again. They'll probably get brought back in again.
You know, Tesla may not be an auto company, but it's trading like one this week.
Isn't?
Not
Down big, just like all
stock
the others.
doubled. The stock doubled in 2 months.
I'm just saying.
Literally doubled.
I'm just saying what's happening this week. Look at Stellantis. They must have had earnings too.
I don't even think they did. I think it's all Ford here.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a big
Oh,
symbol.
they did. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that they did. It doesn't matter. They're all down.
Getting killed out here.
What's the ticker for Stellantis?
STLA.
It's STLA because they wanted to fool all the dyslexics who thought they were going to buy Tesla.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, this thing's
But
getting killed.
it's
So
not even just
Stellantis is Chrysler?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
what else?
It's not even just the U.S. ones,
Do they
though.
even make Chryslers anymore? When was the last time you saw a Chrysler on the road?
Yeah.
I don't think they make those anymore.
Don't they own Jeep?
Yeah, they own Jeep.
Oh, they own
I
Jeep?
see a
I see
lot
that.
of Jeeps.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. It's not even just the U.S. though. Go look at Honda, look at Toyota, look at Ferrari. They're all look at Volkswagen. No, it's same story.
Is it the economy, Spencer? Must be the economy. It must be the hot Jeep.
Cars are expensive, man. I don't know.
Cars are expensive, dude.
I know.
I'm getting a new car. They're expensive.
I've been waiting for this subprime auto loan thing bubble to burst for like 10 years, and I don't know. They keep talking about it.
You don't want to buy cars. You lease the cars. So much easier.
I waited almost a full year to buy a car because it got so crazy in the depths of COVID.
And you bought it?
Yeah.
At least it's so much easier. You beat it to death. You give it back. You get a new one.
Listen, I don't know much about it. I don't have fun shopping for a car. You know what I mean? Like I want to go and get it and be done in one day.
Dresden, nobody has fun shopping for a car. My wife was at the store, at the car store, and she's there with the dudes, and she was just complaining about what a terrible experience it was. I'm like, what did you expect?
Yeah, it's not
Like-
fun. Like we spent the day at the dealership.
She's like, these people are so stupid. Yes, that's why they're car salesmen.
Yeah.
You see,
I mean, I've never bought a house.
Expected, you know.
I've never bought a house, but I will say buying a car was the most stressful thing I've ever gone through. Is from a purchasing standpoint.
It's just boring.
Buying a
Incredibly
house
stressful.
is not a big deal. Buying a house is easy if you buy it cash. It's the mortgage
easy.
part that's a pain in the ass.
And that's not that bad either. I went through it. It was fine. I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
Anyway,
I think that the automobile market probably worsens from here, and you're just seeing this get priced in. They've had a couple of really good years, these guys. I don't know.
It's just a shitty business like airlines, right?
I would love to just be like a 100% Uber person, just get driven around. But you need a
You
car.
understand that I went shopping for a car a couple of years ago for the first time since 1998.
Yeah, you didn't drive for a really long time. I love that. It's a great move.
It was, well, I mean, I lived in New York City for a long time with that.
Yeah.
I inherited my wife's Jeep when we got together and when she became my girlfriend. So I didn't need a car. And then we started having kids and it's like, all right, we need a car. So then I went and we got the GMC Denali. The thing's a beast. Spencer was in the car the other day. He's like, this thing is huge.
You're like one of those big truck people with just like this oversized vehicle.
Well, I have a million kids, so I don't have a choice. I'd rather have a Porsche, but Porsche is not going to do me any good in this family.
Yeah, but people don't know you have kids. Like if I saw you alone in the car on the road, I'd be like, look at this guy.
My wife breaks my balls because I leave the Thule on, so she thinks that when I'm going to the store or like whatever, she thinks I'm always going on vacation or something.
Yeah.
So she makes me take it off.
Okay. Other headlines. There aren't many. Bally's is finally going off the board. Again, bought out by Standard General, which is that hedge fund.
Bally's
1825.
the gym place.
Valley Fitness?
Yeah. What?
Valley Fitness? Yeah.
Yeah. No. This is the casino. This is Bally's the casino,
Nice.
not the gym. It's a very complicated story between the naming rights of the gym and the casino, but this is the casino.
Both are terrible businesses, just broadly speaking.
Wait, what I say? 18
I
and a
remember
quarter.
watching the Heat games. The Heat games last season were on Bally Sports.
Yeah, which is going under. So
Okay.
anyway, okay. So there was
Look
that
kinda
headline.
janky, if you ask me.
I think that was it. I think really just that and GDP and I don't know. I mostly just wanted to like put yesterday into context. You know what I feel like yesterday was when you see those jokes in like a warehouse where it says like 200 days without injury, and then someone gets hurt and they got to rip it off, start again. That's what yesterday was. It was a reset, right? Because it was the biggest down day in what, like 2 years or whatever. So just rip it off and start again.
The biggest down day for the indexes. There was a lot of stocks that went up.
Yeah, but come on. It was what it was. We get it.
I get it.
These big cap techs, they got to stop the bleeding out here. They're just getting crushed again today.
A lot of stuff going on in the hot corner.
Yeah, political filing. We don't need to. Yeah, all right. If you want.
You want to talk about political filings?
What about the 13D in APAN? No.
Abdil Capital. They've been on this one.
Michael McCall YOLOing a whole bunch of stuff.
You see all the reporting about like how Kamala Harris invests her money? Like that's really
I did read about that over the weekend, I think, or on Monday.
It's all anybody's writing about. So yeah.
How does Kamala Harris invest her money?
She makes $450,000 a year.
Well, she makes less than that. My biggest takeaway was how little that the vice president makes.
Come on here. Don't say that on camera. Trust me. People don't like it, but our Congress people, our president, our vice president, they're grossly underpaid. It's insane.
But then they write a book that sucks and a lot of people buy it and they make their money like that.
They shouldn't have to make their money in other ways. This is what lends itself to bad behavior by our politicians. If you just pay them enough so that they don't have to do the funky stuff, maybe it's a much nicer world.
Maybe.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
She made $200,000 last year.
That's bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
Sorry.
As the vice president.
For how bad their jobs are, also,
you couldn't pay me enough.
Did you see the Secret Service thing on Capitol Hill? That was something.
I only caught snippets of it. I knew it's above. I have a very low cringe tolerance, and that's way above it. So I can't watch that.
Yeah, that was a bad one. That was like a really bad one.
All right, should we just bring Sean on?
Please
talk about literally anything else.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I do actually.
Okay. All right.
Shawnee baby.
Let's talk about literally anything else.
Oh, Kamala Harris's salary. Oh, gross. I'd rather talk about like spinach.
Are you even saying her name right? Isn't it Kamala?
Kamala.
It doesn't matter. We're never going to hear from her again after the next few months. Like no one's ever going to hear from this lady ever again. It's like, remember
she'll write a book, JC.
Palin? Has anybody ever heard of Sarah Palin ever again?
No.
Kamala Harris and Sarah Palin are going to be on some island somewhere with Biggie and Tupac.
The best part about Sarah Palin was Tina Fey impersonating her on SNL. Really that was the best.
That was prime.
Really good.
Okay. So VIX over 18 getting paid to sell premium, something that we are not used to, Mr. Sean, for quite some time.
It's not that we're not used to it. We've just we've been out of practice for a little while because the market has not been offering us some good opportunities. We finally have some good opportunities to sell some either to sell some premium itself as a tactical play or to help finance some turnaround bullish bets. That's the environment we're in right now. We got to take advantage of it.
I really like that Berkshire selling those puts. We don't need to get into any details of which puts we sold, which calls we bought, but whoo! liking those naked puts in that Berkshire.
I know you're excited about the Berkshire, but I got to give a shout out to my man, Steve Strazza. Hey, Steve. How you doing, buddy?
Hey.
You may have forgotten by now, but I think it was 2 weeks ago on the Flow Show, you brought us that Viking Therapeutics trade.
Yeah, I didn't go far enough out. You're in it, right?
Well, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it, and it's looking pretty good today. And you know, I just want to give you a shout out because we don't often put trades on because of earnings. Like we don't use earnings as a catalyst very often, but in this case we did. When we put the trade on, we were talking about how, hey, when earnings comes out, it may see a pop, and we're getting exactly that today. You know, it's not something we do a whole lot, but it's nice when it works.
You know, I'm not in it. I'm sitting here talking to you guys instead. There's nothing I'd rather be doing, so I'm happy about it.
That's all right, Steve. You're still riding that DHI, right? Which I did not get into.
Hey, listen, we've had a good couple of weeks, and then there's been some backing and filling. And now you look at some of these tech stocks. I know I keep bringing it up, but some of these stocks are the best stocks of this bull market. They're getting absolutely killed. I think there's going to be some opportunities here to sell puts against some logical levels, collect that cash now, maybe give these trends some time to stabilize, and then redeploy it on some YOLO calls.
You know, this actually brings us a good opportunity to have an educational moment here about selling puts.
Yep.
When implied volatility and options premiums is elevated like it is now, it's very tempting to want to just go sell puts, right? But I will caution everyone, and I'll caution you guys too, that we don't just sell puts because we can. We don't want to just find a stock that's getting killed and sell puts in it. No, we want to find a stock that is coming into a key level that should offer some support and volatility is elevated. That's the sweet spot. That's what we want.
Like Berkshire?
Like Berkshire, exactly. I mean, we did that one, right? But it's very tempting to go in there and sell puts in some stocks that are getting killed right now. You can be a hero and you could be right, but that's no way to make a living. You're going to eventually get torched doing that. You want to find stocks that are coming into logical levels or maybe have already started bouncing. Preferably, they've already started bouncing. That's the sweet spot for me.
Yeah, agreed. We talk about that all the time. Instead of catching a falling knife, let's get a pivot. And then we'll sell puts against that pivot or slightly below.
Right, because we want to have, as technicians, right, we want to have a level, a clean level that we can lean against and say, look, if this level breaks, then we're out. We need that spot that we know that we're confirmed that we're still in the good. But if it's below that level, we're out.
And this goes back to, I think it was Ed Sekoda. I'm not 100% sure. It was definitely one of the market wizards. And it was about not setting stops based on your parameters, based on how much money you lose, but set your stops based on what the market would have to do to invalidate your thesis. And then work your way outside from there. So instead of an arbitrary 5% stop, right? Or like some of the stuff that Sean was describing, arbitrarily selling puts, you know, having well-defined levels where you say, okay, if we take out those lows, then my thesis of this going higher is probably wrong. So we'll set our stop there. So let the market dictate where you're wrong, not some arbitrary 3% trailing stop or 5% or whatever made up number, right?
And this is where position sizing becomes so important, right? You want to have the level on the chart that objectively confirms that you're wrong. And if you get to that point, the position has to be small enough that you're not going to get hurt that badly more than any other trade. So that's where position sizing comes in handy. You don't want to be, trading too large. You don't want to be in a position where if your stop gets hit, oh shit, I lost way more money than I wanted to lose. That's no way to live. You don't want that.
Losing money is no way to go through life.
Hey, it's a part of what we do, but we have to manage it. We have to keep it small. There's no avoiding it. You just got to keep it small and let your occasional big winners make up for all the small losers. That's the name of the game. That's how the math works.
All right. We're still looking for opportunities to sell volatility in this market. When you wake up this morning, Sean, is that where your head is at? Let's collect some premium. Premiums are juiced up. Let's go.
I mean, it's not the first thing I'm looking for, but I'm aware of it. And
why do you say it's not the first thing you're looking for?
I don't think there's anything that there's the first thing I'm looking for.
Yeah, but in this environment, this is what I'm thinking. I'm surprised it's not what you are.
it depends on the setup, of course, right? If we're looking at setups, and I know Steve's been banging the table on a lot of these turnaround plays, stocks that have been getting hit and are pivoting and ready for a bounce. In those types of stocks, yes, I'm looking for the premium sell, perhaps a risk reversal type trade. But if we're looking at stocks that are strong and continue to be strong, and there's still many of those out there, they still have low volatility. So I'm just, in those cases, I'm looking to keep it simple, buy calls, buy call spreads. That kind of thing. So it's case dependent, but yes, there are a lot more opportunities today than there were, say, 3 weeks ago for us to leverage high options premiums to get into better positions.
You know how I know it's a bull market? You know how I know?
Uh-oh. Did you get a call from Uncle Skivvy?
You know how I know it's a bull market?
How?
Because I actually take the time to go in and look, you see. I don't wait for the pretty lady on the TV to tell me. I don't worry about what the NASDAQ did yesterday. I actually go and see, are there more stocks going up, right? Are more stocks participating? Are more sectors participating to the upside? Or are we seeing an expansion in stocks making new lows? Are we seeing more and more stocks breaking down? Are we seeing corrections getting bought? Or are we seeing corrections turn into severe bear market? Right? Like, it's a bull market. And I know that because I looked. People are lazy. That's the arbitrage.
You don't even
Humans are lazy. They're always going to be. If you actually take the time to look, you're going to have a huge advantage over those who do not, which is most people.
And frankly,
you said earlier this morning, you were asking Spencer the question, why don't people count or look at the 20 Dow transportation stocks? And the one answer that neither of you guys said was because there's only one JC Parets. You're the only nerd that does that kind of shit. And it serves you well.
It does. It doesn't even take that long. It doesn't even take that long. Like, it's not like this, like, wow, JC is so strong and, he has such amazing ability so that he could do that. No. Any idiot can do it. It doesn't take long.
JC is so strong. That's it.
So strong.
You're able to do it in under a minute. And when you look through them, they all look so terrible.
The Dow transports look terrible?
I mean, Old
Why don't you flip
right.
your screen upside down so you can see them correctly?
Everything's in a range. I mean, like what's
making new all-time highs as we speak. Rider Systems, Expeditors, Landstar, Uber.
Hold on. Just name one that looks good to you.
Landstar.
LSTR. I mean,
Rider.
Most of the stocks we're buying are at new all-time highs. This one's got a ways to go.
All right, sorry. It's only up 3.5% today, making new 4-month highs. Are you not entertained? Rider making new all-time highs today. Matson making new all-time highs.
Rider, not quite a new all-time high. It's close. Rider looks the best. Matson. Yeah, Matson's nice. I'll give you that one. That one's actionable.
Oh, wow. See what happens when you look.
Out of 20, they all look
see what happens when you look? Expeditors looks great.
It's in a range. Go look at them yourself. Everybody go look at them yourself. Draw your own conclusions. These stocks look like crap.
Except the ones that you just looked at.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes a market. We got a bull on one side, a bear on the other side.
We got CSX. CSX looks great. Norfolk Southern looks great. I'm pretty sure Uncle Warren owns a few railroads in there because he's no dummy. Uncle Warren likes the trannies.
Don't say that at Pride Fest.
Shall we?
Yes, please. Spencer.
I'm here.
That's your cue.
Yes.
I once went to a Pride Fest parade.
I went.
Me too.
I was 21 years old, and I was living in New York City. I was interning at Merrill Lynch, and we were going to buy weed in the Upper East Side. And we were just like waiting for the guy, and it happened to be like the gay parade. And we caught ourselves like 4 straight dudes, just trying to buy some pot at 21 years old. And we were right in the heart of the gay parade. I mean, it was something. It was something. So I've been there. I don't need to go. I don't need to go again.
I as you guys know, I lived in Chicago for 10 years, and for 5 of those years, I lived the North Side, near where the Chicago Pride Fest happens. And boy, that is a wild, wild weekend in Chicago. I'll tell you that. Tell you that much.
keep your clothes on. Why do they take their clothes off? Like, I understand, like it's okay. Like, I don't care who you sleep with, but do you need to walk around naked like that? I don't.
So Rose and I accidentally stumbled into the Pride Parade here just a couple months ago, and yeah, JC, a lot of nudity, but they just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, but nudity is a Key West thing in general, because the Halloween thing, everyone's naked.
Everybody's naked where I live.
So that's just a Key West thing. But like when you're like in a real city, like you don't need to take your clothes off.
Yeah, I wear my Self Puts Naked shirt downtown. They take it the wrong way.
I was gonna say you can't do that. I remember I was in Japan, and we went to a baseball game, and my wife's like, "Why don't you get a souvenir of the team?" Because we were watching the swallows, which is a type of duck or bird or something.
Yes.
And she's like, "Oh, why don't you get a Swallows shirt?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a Swallows shirt and wear it in the Bay Area where we were living at the time. That's a great idea." She's like, "Oops, I didn't even think about that." True story. And that's today's recess, ladies and gentlemen. Lessons learned.
I got a quick one, a good one. We watched this Presumed Innocent show with Jake Gyllenhaal on Apple TV, and I got to tell you guys, it's one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. It was so good. Check it out. It's like murder mystery, politics. It's just
Is it on Apple, you said?
Apple TV. It's one season. You're only getting one season. There can't be a second one. But it was solid.
No
really
spoilers.
Yeah, right. No kidding. All right. I've just been watching Veep, which apparently viewership is way up. Veep.
Amazing show.
Is that still going, or I thought that series ended?
No. It's been off the air for a few years. I'm just watching it for the first time.
No.
Oh, they should bring that back. So funny, right?
I never watched it.
Tremendous show. It's my favorite kind of comedy, which is the kind where you have to pay attention, otherwise you'll miss the joke.
Sean, you'd like it a lot.
Joke
like
after
Arrested
joke
Development
after joke.
Is it like Arrested Development?
It's so
exactly.
Dry. It's so
just like AD.
You know,
exactly like it.
She's a great actress, and
amazing.
She's loaded. Dreyfus funds. Like, she's the daughter. She
is
never had to work a day in her
funny.
life.
Yeah,
I think she made plenty of money on her own with Seinfeld.
But what I'm saying is she had it already. Like, she's the daughter of Dreyfus funds. She was good.
Fun fact, did you guys know, I always forget this, but fun fact, Julia Louis-Dreyfus actually was on SNL for one season, 1985.
Was she?
Yes, she was.
One season.
Well
That's where she met Larry David.
That's where she met Larry David. That's
Larry
right.
David.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Great
More you know.
story.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Seinfeld tomorrow, by the way. How cool
What?
is that?
What?
Are you
Yeah,
seeing
Seinfeld stand-up.
Oh, dude, I'm
Cool,
so
man.
jealous.
Where?
How cool is that?
That's awesome. I would love to see
Morgan got it
Seinfeld
for,
live.
it was either for my birthday or Christmas or Father's Day or one of these.
Who even knows anymore? Honestly.
Hey, I will tell you.
Stuff, and then it's like I forget about it. It's like, oh shoot, we're gonna see Seinfeld on Friday. That's sick.
Let me tell you something about Jerry Seinfeld. Everyone knows how funny he is. He's the greatest. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the greatest comedians of all time. No question. But one thing I find fascinating about Jerry Seinfeld, if you listen to him, he's occasionally guests on podcasts, on a variety of podcasts. I've heard him on Tim Ferriss. I've heard him on Joe Rogan, or maybe not Joe Rogan, but a few others. And when he's talking about life and his process, not trying to be funny at all, just being himself, that guy is one of the smartest guys I've ever come across. He's become my Buddha. You should listen to this guy talk. And as a trader, we can relate. When he talks about the process of stand-up comedy and how, the lean days when he was learning the craft and all the shit he went through and how hard it is and how you're up there by yourself. It's you versus the audience. We traders can relate so much to stand-up comedians. If you listen to Jerry Seinfeld talk about his process, I mean, you'll be nodding your head the whole way, totally relating. It's amazing.
To be a comedian, you gotta be smart.
For sure.
Like, these comedians are geniuses. Some of them very depressed. That's another element of it. Not all of them, but you see
a lot of artists suffer from clinical depression.
And we thank them for it.
Yeah.
All right. It's Thursday, which means CRL, 1 o'clock. Steve and Pat ripping through charts. Be there. And that's what we got. So
watch last night's video. Last night's video was sick.
Yeah. The link is pinned to the chat. It is also the very first link in the description. I'll throw it on the screen one more time. If QR code is more of your thing, there's the QR code. Check it out. The video is out there. It was, like JC said at the top, probably the best feedback we've ever gotten from one of these videos. So it was tremendous. Great job, guys. And that's what we got for the show today. So smash the like, go make money. We'll see you later.
Geo Bowden down 20% today.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs.